How are you doing? I hope you're feeling well, rested, ready to go. This week, I want to focus on some of the greatest lessons that I've learnt over the last 22 years, and to throw these lessons back to you as an exercise journaling prompt, and maybe just give you that little nudge of, all right, yeah, okay, cool, I could do something with that. So it's going to be really practical, but always through storytelling, through tangible examples, I'll hopefully make these ideas, these frameworks real for you. So I shared over the weekend that 22 years I moved to London. I came to North London, where I still live now. I don't live in the same area, but not too far away. And I moved to London and I began my 3-year BA honours degree in acting. It was a dream of mine that I'd had since being 4 years old, and most days I think I would have asked my parents, like, when can I go? And in my head I was visualizing this moment, this process so often. I didn't particularly enjoy school. I found the environment really tricky to navigate. I felt quite different from people. I was bullied quite a lot as well. And basically, I felt that my first bit of my childhood was on countdown as to when I could get cracking. So that moment when I walked through those doors on that first day, it felt enormous. It felt like I'd begun. Let's go. And very quickly, I began, as you do with a lot of these processes, I began to find out so many things about myself. And in fact, the process was not all going to be plain sailing. In fact, it was going to give me some of the biggest lessons, moments that truly stretched me. And those 3 years that I thought I would be there, I only actually ended up being there for 2 years, 7 months, I believe, because I left 5 months early. I got 2 jobs back to back. I got an agent and I left. I didn't complete my 3rd year. And there's a lot more of that story as well. But actually, that was a really great move for me too at the time. So today's focus is not about becoming an actor or going to drama school. It's about you, the business of you becoming a personal brand. Because throughout this process, over the last 22 years, it's been me and it's maybe been you as well. Finding work, delivering work, navigating your way through life and everything that throws up, but also being very, very committed and loyal to your big dreams. Shall I cry right now? I feel like the tears are coming already. And I think sometimes people talk about just going for your dreams as this separate path, like you just choose to go in the lane where you follow your dreams. But even though you have always got one eye on that, of course you need to be in the world as well. You have responsibilities. You need to pay for things. You need to have relationships and do all of those sorts of things as well. So let's get into what I wanted to share today. I'm going to be talking about this all week. So this is part 1. And you can follow along, you can subscribe, you can watch things on my YouTube channel, on my website, as a podcast, however you choose to digest these things. The first thing I want to say is making a decision will always give you a response. And this I have found to be true throughout my 22 years since moving to London. When you make a decision, when you say an absolute yes or an absolute no, you get a response. And so how many times have you said, right, I am never doing that thing again, or I am leaving that job, or I am going to say yes to going to that network event. Usually when you make that point, that decision from that really strong, definitive place, you will get that payback. And so there was something about starting and saying, I have moved to a different city. I have left home. I have worked every hour throughout the summer to make sure that I had enough money to see me through. I have auditioned, I have committed, I am here, let's go. Even on that first day, I began to meet people, I began to notice people. I was in that environment where suddenly I went from a place of not knowing any actors, which again is quite naive when you go back and like, I really should have spoken to somebody who was earning money from acting before I began this process. But I didn't know anyone. I literally knew nobody in the industry. But even on that first day, when you began to meet the teachers and other students and other people in the building who you sort of recognize, but you're not quite sure why, you were in the environment. So my question for you from this lesson is, what is the decision that you need to make today? And maybe this has been something that has been running around in your head for a while. You've been umming and ahhing, you've been going back and forth, you are sitting on the fence, you're hoping that something will come along and make the decision for you. Or maybe you're in that camp that I know that sometimes I can be, where I'll say, well, I'll wait and see, or we'll hope for the best, or maybe it will get better, or when I'm less tired, I'll make that decision, etc. We all do it. Sometimes there's a need for us to call ourselves to action because nobody is probably going to do it for us. Yes, there might be a circumstances or a way that suddenly the opportunity changes. But there's a real power in knowing that you made the decision, knowing that you said yes or no or right then, let's go. You will always be rewarded in some shape or form. Caveat, that's not to say that you won't get a little test along the way. Sometimes that happens as well. How many times where you have said yes or no, or you've made that decision, and suddenly something will pop up like, really? Are you sure? Because like, it's still really fun over here. That is part of life. It's a test of your commitment. It's a test of how much do you want this. It's a really interesting one. Number 2, the bigger picture has to lead the way, even though the current one might be a lot. So when I made that commitment to begin that 3-year course, to go all in, actually when I look back on those 2 years, 7 months, they were some of the stretchiest years of my life where I had to dig deep. And I spoke about this a little bit on my live the other day, but lots and lots of things changed and happened in my life at that time. And it was a real test of how can you navigate your commitment and where you're going, but also attend to the things that you need to attend to. So one of the examples that I can give you is that I was bedbound for nearly a month. And I missed that whole chunk of my second year. And it cost me marks. It cost me teachers thinking that I was a bit flaky, all of that. But the truth was, like, I literally couldn't get out of bed. And yet the dream of where I was going next still remained really, really strong. And I know so often, especially being adults, that we have these commitments. We have people, or we have things that need us, responsibilities. And the two running alongside each other can be really, really difficult sometimes, because there might be things that I might have wanted to do 2 years ago. I mean, pandemic aside, I might have said, gosh, I want to go away for a month and really work on my business. But at that time I had a 1-year-old. So in my mind, as much as I wanted to do that thing, that wouldn't have worked for me, for her, for our family. And it was just off the table. And so sometimes there are moments where you have to find that compromise that's going to work for you. Find a way where you can say, okay, I am going for this. I am doing this thing, but I'm also going to have to perhaps slow down the timeline of this. So those times when I was going for my dreams, I was doing the drama school thing, but I was bedbound, I said to myself, right, okay, I need to look at the way that I'm spending my evenings. I need to cut down on my alcohol. I need to perhaps think about resting on a Saturday morning or going to bed earlier or whatever it might be. And this bro marketing scenario where people are like, if you're not all in, if you don't like commit fully to the situation, for me, that approach is so outdated, because usually these marketeers, these people maybe don't have that responsibility, maybe are not that person in their family who do X, Y, and Z. Maybe they do have a trust fund so they can go all in because they've just got stacks of cash in the bank and they can do that. So what I would say to you as a lesson from this is really consider, what is your next chapter? What is your next version of success? Like, where are you getting to? And how can you make that work within your own capabilities, within your own capacity right now? Because there's no point saying, oh, well, I have to wait until I can go all in, because you probably want to make moves now. I've often said this because my children are nearly 4 years apart. So I had my son at 33 and I had my daughter at 37, I can't work out. Yes, 37. And my daughter's going to go to school next year. So I will be nearly 42 when she goes to school. But from 33 to 42, I've had children at home. And so if I had not done anything with my business, and not that that would have been an option because we both work and that's how our family setup works, I just think, gosh, it would have been so easy to say, oh, I'll put everything on hold till they go to school. That's 9 years of my life, you know? So sometimes you have to keep moving in the direction, even though it may not look perfect, even though you're tired, even though it feels tough sometimes. All of those things, please keep showing up if you can. One of the things that was said to me on the first day of drama school, which always stuck with me, a teacher said, look around this room. And there were 32 of us, 32 students in our year. We had a 1 in 20 chance of getting in. And so we felt so lucky to be in that room. And she said, 2 of you are going to make it in this room. And I bet you are wondering who the other one is. And of course, we all had that moment of like, oh my goodness, she can see inside our head. Like, because obviously we all thought that we were going to be the one that would, and then who was going to be the other one. And for a moment, I listened to that and thought, oh, I wonder, and played along with the game. And the second thought clicked in really quickly, which was, what's she talking about? What does make it even mean? Like, why can't more of us have a go? Like, this feels very limited. And maybe that was false optimism. But also I thought, even if people are not famous or a Hollywood superstar or whatever, does that mean that this 3 years has been a waste of time? No, absolutely not. And so many of my contemporaries from that year have chosen that acting is just not for them, that they don't want to do it. And I myself am not a full-time actor. I have it as a slice of my income pie, but many of us are not full-time actors because very rarely people are not, because it's contract work. That is the nature of the game. And so to turn this question around, what are you believing, or what have you been told that has subconsciously lodged itself in your brain that is A, not accurate, B, not helpful, and C, not in support of your vision of where you are going? And I think that so many of our teachers, mentors, coaches, people we admire or watch on the TV or whatever it might be, they may say something really flippantly that just pops into their head, or they say it in the moment. And there's sometimes that phrase, that sentence, that piece of advice, it takes on so much power. And so today I urge you to look at those things, to become aware of them, of asking yourself those really deep questions of like, what am I believing? And is this true? Is this not? I think this is what happened when, at the beginning of the pandemic, when people were like, oh, nobody's ever going to buy from anybody again. Not true. Not true. People changed their lives in that moment. People spent money because they needed to, because they wanted to mix things up. I know that my best year of business, and I feel a bit weird saying this, was 20 to 2021. It was my best year in business ever. My next year was not. But it's a really interesting place to play in, because sometimes people who say things, and maybe you're thinking this about me right now, but sometimes people say things and you're like, what are they talking about? Like that's not relevant for me. And I think we have to have these times in our lives where we have to check in and go, what, like we would with our wardrobes, right? Where we go, oh, why did I buy that dress? Because it was popular at the time. It's actually time to let go of that, because this never suited me. It was never the one. And we can do that with our lives and our beliefs. Couple more things I want to share today. Get to know what you like and what you dislike, and be able to articulate it and know why. So often I've been in situations where people have had to sell themselves, talk about themselves, make a stand on something. And I know that speaking is not everybody's forte, and public speaking especially brings up all kinds of things. But there is a tendency in moments where your back is against the wall, where people might say, why do you want this job? Why do you want to work with me? What could you offer me? People go for the vanilla response. And there's a lot of those phrases of, well, do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, the thing is, like, I just love what I do. There's a lot of those stock phrases. And this is your opportunity today to really stand in your ground, stand in your power, and know who you are, what you like, what you're all about, where your stance is on things. Because sometimes there will be a moment where somebody will call upon you to say, so tell me what you do. Tell me why you do what you do. What could you offer this company? We haven't heard from you at the back. What do you want to contribute? Being ready in that moment is going to be absolutely golden. And some people can do that off the cuff. And I know that I actually had to hone that skill at drama school, because we did all those speedy games, improvised, It was that thing of like, throw the ball. Okay, I've got to say, I've got to be ready. I've got to do all of this. I know that I can naturally do that because I've worked on it so much. But I know that people can't necessarily. I know that I can't immediately do a spreadsheet in my head. Great. So I need to work on it. I know that that skill is weak for me. So if you are unclear about where you are right now, give yourself some time to think about your personal brand. Who are you? What do you stand for? Why are you the best at what you do? Even though you might not believe it, but like, be your own hype person in that way. Who do you serve? What do they need from you most of all in the world? Why do they choose you? Why do your customers choose you? What is your mission that is underlying your business? Answer all of those questions, because that's what's going to see you through. I know so often as we move a bit away from acting, but more into personal branding, I kept hearing people talking about content where people would say, you need to do 1 blog a week, you need to do 2 videos a week, and they'd have this sort of formulaic thing. And I used to think, why? So why is it 2 videos and it's this? Or why is it that? Because it would be based on a trend report. And actually what I found is when I work on my content from a what do I need to say? How can I help people here? The content just flows. It becomes so much easier. One more point today, which is connected to this. Get to know your gut really, really well. And when I say your gut, like, yes, of course, your actual gut, your brain, all of that sort of bodily stuff for sure. But get to know your intuition, your instinct, how you feel in a situation, what makes you feel good, what doesn't, what pricks up your ears and makes your curiosity widen, and what makes your gut go, run, get out of there, no, it's an absolute no, 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 no. Get to know all of that. It will serve you so well in business, because I've been in so many situations, even myself, and I've had to learn the hard way. Unfortunately, I feel like I've been, I haven't had anything too scary or anything like that. But there's definitely been things where I'm like, I didn't listen. I did not listen. I got swayed, or I was easily impressed in that moment, or I thought that I should, or somebody told me I should, or sometimes I've been in those situations where I've distributed the answers almost. Like I feel like I've got a survey of my friends and family of like, what do you think I should do? And then I've kind of come up with this answer, and it didn't feel good for me. Really, and this is connected to where you're going next, what you're doing. What is it all about? Who are those people that you need to surround yourself with, as in the feeling good? What is that environment that is going to set you up? Where maybe did you not listen in your life right now, and you need to do a bit of a audit, and you need to close some things down? Where have you maybe been on somebody else's timeline or been part of something else, and you're like, this just does not feel good? This could be the day where you rearrange the boundaries, where you have that really big focus, that big vision, and you might need to rearrange things. Sometimes we have this in our house where suddenly the children get bigger, or we have different requirements, or we suddenly need to move our coats and put them somewhere else. So I remember when Luna started nursery, and there was that moment where it's like we all have to get out of the house in the morning, and then there was a lot of kind of just faffing by the front door, and we were like, this system just doesn't work anymore, because we've now got to get 4 people out the house rather than maybe just Oscar and I when he was going to school. So I invite you today to tune in with your gut. And if I'm saying your gut, your instincts, and you're like, that feels a bit woo-woo for me, Nikki, I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Take it along with you today. I mean, it's there anyway, but listen in. When you go into situations today, maybe when you eat certain foods, maybe when you see certain things, check in with how you're feeling. Check in with, is it, and Marie Forleo says this, is it something that makes you expand, or is it something that makes you contract? And if you are going through a lot of life where a lot of things are making you contract, it's maybe time to look at them. It's maybe time to reassess and reconsider in a different kind of way. I will be back tomorrow for more of these lessons. I would love to hear if anything resonated. If you're like, I'm going to do that today, send me a DM. I will be your accountability person. And just that sense of, I've declared it, I'm doing it, that's it, no more. Or I'm really excited about doing this thing, I'm going to send the email today, whatever it might be. If you haven't already, do check out my freebies house, because there are lots of rooms for you to explore over on my freebies page, nikkieraby.com/freebies. And again, if you want to work with me, if you want to find out more, if you want to do more one-to-one stuff, go to my work with me page, nikkieraby.com/work with me. But if it's something where you're like, I want to do a bit more of a digital course, go to nikkieraby.com/shop. A couple of things that I can mention that will help you: go into the goal setting section, because that might help with vision stuff. I also have a content masterclass workshop, which might help you if you're thinking about, okay, how do I put myself out there? How do I do that? And also my Speak Up page. So nikkieraby.com/speak up is my speaking page. And also you get some one-to-one time with me. So if you want some help with communication, selling your services, getting yourself out there, etc., etc., I've got 22 years of doing the do. So I would love to hear more if I can be helpful in any way. Hope you have a lovely day. I'm going to take my daughter to her little toddler dance class now, so I'm going to do that. But I will be back later. I'll see you soon. Lots of love.